Hello.
He Kramered it. What's up, Ron? Good to see you. Winning! Look what we get to play with today. We gonna learn today, boy.
What are we gonna be doing?
We are going to Vortex's
pew pew. We're gonna pew pew pew.
With Nick Laufenberg. That's it. What he said. Hey,
with
hey, Nick Laufenberg
from
Vortex Optics.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna go to the Vortex range, train with them today, get the new rangefinders put on, figure it out, and learn a lot of basics today about long range. Yeah. Nick wrote a book. We'll talk about it later. It's gonna be a fun day.
Well, this trip was so eventful and so long, we are splitting it up into 2 separate episodes, and this one we're just going to be going over the Impact 4000 and us setting it up and what that looks like. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Fantastic. What new product are we going to see?
We are going to be training these guys up on the Impact 4000 today. Lots of ins and outs, getting it set up on their rifles, parallel zero to their rifle scopes, and then actually gathering some data downrange with them too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Alright, so I'm going to walk through it and show Clayton if he wants to follow along.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into settings. We're going to go to setup.
Then you go down.
Oh, my apologies. It's actually settings and then settings.
Oops.
And then we're going to hit compass.
Oh, never mind. Settings and then settings.
Yep,
And then
settings,
compass.
settings, and then compass.
Huh?
And it says calibrate. Before calibrating, detach rangefinder from rifle. But the only doesn't want you throwing your rifle around like a baton.
Settings. Oh, settings. I would have done it on the rifle.
Yeah, no.
I'd have been like,
It'd have been very difficult. So, just so that these units aren't messing with each other while we do the calibration process, I'm going to step over here with Clayton, and then follow through, and then we're going to come back to yours, okay?
we got dance.
Yeah, we're going to dance. All right, so we're going to hit calibrate. Okay. So to begin, step 1, move in.
Yeah. Oh, so you're already starting. Getting after it. So first of all, I would ask before you even start mounting this, the rifles are still zeroed, right? We haven't done it. Okay.
Should I take it off?
No, that's fine.
Oh, I was gonna go for it.
You're just a go-getter, dude.
Yeah, dude. I am so excited to run this thing and try it out and like.
So before we start getting that actually torqued into place, one thing to consider is that if you are still going to dial your turret at all,
Okay.
which we might, which we're going to go over a little bit, I would actually mount this further forward.
Okay.
So it's not going to disrupt your viewing ability very much, just being a couple inches further forward, but it will allow you to actually grab your turrets.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And what do you? Quick question too. What do you think about? I don't have one of those rings on here. Is that something I should probably look at getting on there? Like he has one.
You can. So here's the thing with that is I feel like most of the time, at least for me personally, I'm usually hanging out around 1 magnification. For anything like competitive shooting, tactical application, that type of stuff, I'm usually in between 12 and 18 power.
Okay.
So if you set your magnification at 15, the amount of movement you can have in your magnification is very minimal.
Okay. I don't worry about it too much because I wouldn't. I just grab it and I turn it if I need to. I just grab it and I turn it.
And you probably find that you don't.
What's the max magnification you like to run on these optics?
for shooting off barricades and stuff and like finding stuff in the field, man, I usually never go over 18.
Okay.
If I'm zeroing,
Now, if you're shooting 1,000 yards and you try to punch in 18 still,
yeah,
you're a pro. No.
and you'll be surprised.
No, right.
So we have this. We want to make sure that there's forward pressure on the rail. There is obviously always a little bit of rail section, so we want to have a little bit of forward pressure on it when we actually torque this down. And it breaks over at 45 inch-pounds where I have it set. Look at you. Yeah. Helps it doesn't pop off its side.
Yeah, I think that happens every time, always. Yeah. Now, when I mounted this, I set this on the table and I got this as straight as I could for the obviously for that. How is there like a margin of error for that's like applicable? Because I'm so perfectionist with it, it almost bothered me.
Yeah.
Like I had mounted on the gun, I set the gun flat, like on the Arca Swiss on the table, and then I like sat there forever loosening and tightening and trying to get it as straight as I can. I still feel like it's off a little bit, but
So here's the thing with bubble levels. I think people often look at bubble levels a little bit wrong. They're often leveling them to their action or to their rail or something else. Truth of the matter is, if you level it to your action, but then when you shoulder your rifle, if you naturally are canting your gun a little bit,
yeah.
I would rather have the bubble level and my scope set so that my natural body's cant will allow the scope to be level.
Okay.
So what I do is I always level the bubble to the scope and then I rotate the scope, which this is actually not a scope mounted level. So what we'll need to do is shoulder the rifle, get into a comfortable position. We'll then kind of open our eyes and then we're gonna move that bubble level until it is plumb when we're shouldering the rifle naturally.
Okay.
And then we're gonna rotate the scope according to that. And then that way, every time you naturally and comfortably shoulder your rifle, you're already level.
Okay.
And so anytime you actually have the bubble level and reference that, it's in situations where you might be prone and have a super long range shot where you have a ton of elevation adjustment dialed in where you just a minute tweak might be necessary.
That makes sense.
But anything from 3 to 600 yards, you almost don't even have to reference your bubble level. Your eyes will do it for you.
Okay. Nice. I didn't think of it that way, which is why we're here. You say you sight this in with your optic, right?
Correct.
So obviously you're going to show us how to do that, but it's going to stay true to your optics all the way out to 1,000 yards.
Yeah, so if you imagine right now we have about a 2-inch offset, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll measure it, but it's going to be about 2 inches. Did you get it torqued?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we got about a 2-inch offset here. So at 100 yards, when we check it and verify that we have a parallel 0, it'll be about 2 inches offset. Go out to 1,000, it should still be about 2 inches offset. You have a beam in here that will disperse and open up as it goes out. It gets a little bit wider and continues to grow. It's an angular beam. So at 1,000 yards, the beam is actually going to be bigger. But since you still only have 2 inches offset, you're actually covering your target more efficiently at 1,000 than you are at 100.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about seeing a laser beam tight all the way out, and I was like, how's it going to hit the target? Is it going to be right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you were to bring it down so that you have a true 0 where your reticle and your beam are crossing each other at 100, that is going to continue to disperse out, right? And so when we get to 1,000, we have to change our hold to raise our target. But if we have it parallel 0, we actually can just use our center of our reticle still and select target.
Cool.
Peace. All right. So got those mounted up. I'm going to run down range. And so inside the box, we have obviously the main unit, which we've already mounted. We have the remote here. Jump inside. Pop this out. We actually have a really handy zeroing target inside the box. I've actually had a few people tell me, hey, I couldn't find it. Well, it's just in the bottom of the box. It's camouflage. It's also green. So we pull these out. So on this target, you'll note that we have a center dot, and this is where the center of our reticle goes. And then what we're going to do is measure the offset between our weapons mounted laser rangefinder and the center of our optic, and that is where we're going to be putting the reflector on here. So we want a parallel 0. We don't actually want the beam and the reticle meeting at 100 yards. We want them offset because if this is about a 2-inch offset at 100, it should remain a 2-inch offset at 1,000, and so on.
Freaking genius.
And we're going to measure from the center of the optic to the center of that. So this sequence mount sits a little bit higher than our Vortex diamond board mount. So it just means that the dot's going to be a touch higher.
Okay.
So when we pop on this little reflector, it's going to be sitting just a touch higher.
Okay.
It's that simple. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to use these larger reflectors, and these are so that we can more quickly identify where our laser is, because when they take them out of the box, they're not going to be co-aligned, right?
Yeah.
So we need to locate where that laser is downrange, and the fastest way to do that is to use a larger reflector. If we have an item like this that is a handy tool for the customer, but not something that you just typically want to retail and like put a SKU in there and sell, we'll have them set aside as care items. So if a customer says, hey, I ran out of reflectors, and yeah, we'll get you some, you know, but they're not going to be, you know, order them from the website. All right, so sweet. That's done. I'm going to pop one more on here just to make it a little bit easier. So now that we're establishing a parallel zero for our weapon mounted laser rangefinder, we do have to turn on the visible laser. Now, these units all have a manual disconnect for the laser. So even if I go into the settings and turn on the visible laser setting, on the outside, if this laser is actually powered, turned to the off position, it actually disables it. So now if I go onto the menus and turn on the visible laser, it will not work. And this is kind of a little bit of a safeguard. In a lot of places, you can't hunt with a visible laser, but depending on your law enforcement, sometimes they're okay with it if it is mechanically disabled. So that's definitely not a legal recommendation. Definitely check with your local law enforcement, but I digress. So we make sure that the visible laser is actually toggled to enable, and then we come into our settings here. So if we're looking at our main screen, if we hit the settings button and then toggle down to settings, we go to the bottom and hit visible laser. And we have the option to turn it on or off. It's currently off, toggle it on and hit select. So now our visible laser is on. So as we showed earlier, we went through the process of setting up our zero target with that vertical parallel offset for our laser. Now we have to find that laser beam. And that's why we put the large reflectors on that target. So if you look down range, you can see that large reflector. Now, if I look in the scope, that's a full, let's see, we're about a 1.2 to the right and about 0.8 high. So the reason why we put the large reflectors on there for that gross correction and where the laser is, so that we can get it on target and then do that minor correction so that we have that perfect parallel zero. So now with this tool, what we're going to do is we're going to come down, and on top of the turret we have nice arrows to show everybody what direction down is. If I want the laser itself to move down, then I need to dial it down. If I want the laser to move up, then I dial in the up direction. Right now, we actually are probably about the right height in reference to where that dot is. We might have to fine tune it later, but we definitely are very far to the right. So we need to come to the left. So I'm going to dial to the left. Check it. Okay, I actually came a little bit too far to the left.
Sick. I just, the applications, you know, being in the soft, we've never used those reflectors on our PEQ-15s, our PAC-15s, for our overt lasers.
Makes you question why, doesn't it?
Dude, so like, and like, oh, we have to do that at night. Like, I could have been zeroed broad daylight.
So we're good. Go ahead and take a look in scope. Put the, which one, were you pushing this one down here? I wasn't pushing anything.
Oh,
It's just on.
oh, the laser's is on.
So go ahead and put the center of the crosshair in the center of the dot.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you should see where the visible laser is hitting the reflector just above the dot. So that's one of the benefits of using this system with this reticle in particular. It is very much utilized for holdovers. So with this setup and doing holdovers, you're going to be very fast and very efficient. Okay, hit again. Transition to 400 yards. Drop.
Impact. Dark 500. Impact. Good.